be charged through a military tribunal. That for the world court, that's probably not going to happen, right? There's legally, I don't see any way that can happen, and maybe somebody can help me with that. But the legal system as it is, if they were to be tried in D.C. Now, I've been to a D.C. court, and I thought for sure that D.C. court, I fought my whole life, my whole career, 35 years, travesty of justice in D.C. When I went there to watch and support someone that was a J6, being convicted for J6 crimes. So fortunately, when President Trump came into office, that grandmother, that was no way was she guilty of any crimes, but she had been convicted and she was going to go to jail. Fortunately, because of President Trump's pardon, she did not go to jail. Now, would Obama, with all the evidence there is, would he be convicted in D.C. With the leftist, people that would come in, jurors that would come in? Absolutely not. So there's no way that it can be done in D.C. It's kind of the same thing that happened with President Trump in, leftist Manhattan, New York. Looks like New York is getting ready to have a mayor that's a communist. So this is the kind of people that don't do justice, guys. They don't do justice. They have their thinking. Yes, they're Americans. Yes, they have grown up in the same culture that we have grown up, but they're not. I don't want to say they're not like us. They're not like this audience for sure, but they're on a whole different program, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, and like I've said many times, I don't see a civil war, but I think these guys in their cities are gonna find out, right? They're gonna find out what they brought. So they're gonna elect this communist, and there's even another one, and I think it's in if it's Michigan or one of those states up there. It looks like they're going to vote for a communist also for mayor in one of the cities up in Michigan. I just saw that recently. I had it saved in another computer. I don't have it on this one. So I'm up on another level. So I have like 3 levels in my lovely place. We have, as you guys see, lovely views of the lake, Lake Tahoe. But, I don't think that anything or not anything, but any court system is the way it is right now is going to support an Obama conviction of treason. So there will have to be, if we look at Obama was the president of the entire United States, all right? You guys see where I'm going with this? Another state maybe he could be tried in. What's the reddest state we got? And then all those other people. Let's play their game against them. All right. So they have been dragging us and President Trump into the most liberal cities and trying to convict us in these liberal cities. And for the J6ers, I don't know how many, it was like 1,200 or something, all convicted in DC, guys. There is no justice in DC. So let's play that friggin' game on them. Let's go to a nice state where everybody is very conservative, and let's try these MFers there, right? So they're going to jail forever or something else, right? For treason. I don't see these people being executed for treason, but I see them probably spending the rest of their advanced stages of their life in prison and never coming out. And they should not come out. They should never be given the opportunity to corrupt our country or any country anywhere in the world again, right? So this is going to be a process. Now, the biggest thing that I believe that we've seen, and the thing I think that is probably the most important, is the truth has come out. So with the truth out about these people being, trying to do a coup against our duly elected president, right? Yeah, there's like Trump derangement syndrome with a lot of NPCs out there, but other than that, the people that actually have critical thinking support President Trump quite substantially. And there are some very good critical thinkers out there who don't like Trump, and that's okay. That's the way it's always been, in our system. You don't have to be, I would be surprised if everybody agreed with me on everything. Talk to my wife. She doesn't agree with me on everything, but a lot of things. So we think a lot about alike. That's why we're together. That's why we've been together as long as we have been. So I think that America as a whole is like that in its best, that it can be. But we haven't been seeing that. We haven't been seeing that with, recently with the legal system. And that's why I've said for quite some time that this legal system, as we know it, has to be overhauled because it's being used as a political tool to go after people that don't agree with a certain line of thinking, like the Democrats, right? So Democrats have been very effective and grinding their way into every aspect of society, and it has to be changed. Now, what are the consequences for us going out? Now, they went after President Trump, deep state. Now, President Trump and I guess the White Hats or whatever their consortium of, good, honest, good, high integrity people that serve we the people and believe in we the people because they're part of we the people. What do they, see going forward? I can tell you what I see going forward. They're going to unleash the army that they brought in. All right. So I've seen these armies overseas. I've seen the ISIS armies overseas. Right. These are deep state armies. And they brought those armies here into the United States. There's something like 2 million Chinese that have come in. 2 million. We have like less than that in the entire military. And not all of them are war fighters. There's only a small fraction of people that are in the military that are war fighters. And then you have law enforcement. Not all of them are up to the task of war fighting. They write tickets for someone that's been speeding. That's if push comes to shove, they could probably defend themselves. But as far as like carrying out offensive operations, absolutely not. They don't have a team, mindset, working as a team to take down a team of highly trained people. Because we have teams of highly trained people all over our country, all around our cities, Democrat cities, right? We've talked about this. I said this was coming 5 years ago. People asked me if we were going to the Civil War. I said, no, but I see a lot of cities probably would go away, right? So now so you're like, and I thought that maybe the Democrats in these cities, which they are now, would support these illegal aliens. Unbeknownst to them, many of them are part of, cartels. They're part of, terrorist organizations, all kinds of evil, bad people that have come in. Democrats have been brainwashed into believing that everybody should have freedom to, have the American dream. Just come on in. We'll support that, So they've been NPC, most of them. There's some of them that have, some slight critical thinking. But for the most part, it's very obvious that Democrat Party and the Democrats that support that party are brainwashed. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear that, but I have to talk tough here. I have to talk tough. I have to say the hard things. That's my job as a leader, as someone that's seeing this all over the world. As a war fighter, as someone that's worked in the intelligence community and in and around the intelligence community. So I have to say the hard things. Unless I and other people do that, then people don't know what situation that we're up against. It's incredibly, it's horrific, what we're up against. So, but not, I've done impossible. Most of my life has been about overcoming impossible odds. And I don't think we're at impossible odds. I think we have, a lot of, everything's going for us, really. And it's continued to evolve in a good direction. Now, a lot of people that are want their emotions served and massaged and patted, that have never been in combat, that have never been to the point where their lives are in danger. They want to know exactly what the White Hats are doing. That's ridiculous, right? Because these operations, as I've been involved in them most of my life, they're very secretive. The only reason why you would know a fraction of what's going on is so that there is some support, and not everybody's turned against them. So no, he's not. So I don't know where he's at, but he's not here. So I'm or here it is now. Yep. So we have someone that's coming in that can help answer some of these questions. He has been with us for many years, almost as long as I have been on YouTube, talking about these things. Juan has been there too. And Juan, in the early days, came on many people's shows. He still does. And, I always appreciate it when he wants to come on and share some stuff. And so here he is now. Juan, how are you doing?
Hey, good. I apologize. I was a little bit late, but good to see you there, bro.
No worries. I warmed up the audience for you. I did the opening. Well, I didn't tell you were coming either, so maybe we'll have a good long show.
Yeah, no, I'm wide open, and I actually should have walked down to the street. The Capitol's just over here, 2 blocks away. I was going to do that, but I had a dead phone. Now it's charged. But
oh, good.
I probably could go down there and show them all the sites. But I'm tired. I'm telling you, I've had such a long last couple of days, and so it's kind of comfortable to sit here and watch. They're having a pool party over here on the next building over.
Nice.
And
yeah, DC. Just talking about DC, how we're not going to get justice there. We didn't get justice for the J6ers. You're not going to get a jury that's convict anyone of treason there.
Mm-mm. Well, one thing too, I think we did a couple of shows when I used to get to stay over at the Trump Hotel.
I love those shows. Those were fantastic. Yeah.
And
that's of course, when you first started talking about AI and bots and all that stuff. And I was like, what? Yeah. Now everybody knows about it. But you're cutting edge on that. Good job.
Well, and I miss that environment. That was such a fantastic hotel. I just I enjoyed it, but such is life. There's other places around here. But anyway, I hope your audience is feeling pretty encouraged.
Yeah.
You had early in the week, you had all this, there was a bunch of hosts. I'm done with Trump. He's not doing the Epstein stuff. He's not forcing it. He's helping and he's in the cover up. And then by the end of the week, they hear, what's going on with Tulsi and her release is going after Brennan and Comey and Obama and like that. And then they got to think about it again. I think, I hope, within your audience, people weren't that mercurial that they were ready to flush Trump just because it wasn't happening the way they thought it should happen instantly or something,
Yeah, we've learned just to stay focused and just be observant. So it's playing out real nice.
Well, okay, let me just right off the bat. We always enjoy talking all the different stuff, but for those that don't want to stick around the whole thing, let me give you the short thumbnail real quick. This week, as the week goes on, the intention is to bring out information concerning the stolen vote from 2020. and the attempts to manipulate the vote 2016 election, the Hillary one, some of the mischief that was done there. So you're going to get a window into uh, uh, the Russia thing, and the continuation of the Russia thing during the Trump administration was the lead up where all of these same players were trying to engineer a situation where they could steal the vote just as happened and get Biden into office in collusion. So you're going to hear about vote manipulation. And just like there's criminal referrals need to happen with Brennan, Comey, Obama over at the Justice Department, you're going to hear about the need for criminal referrals related to vote stuff is what the scuttlebutt here is in Washington. And of course, Washington is, runs on scuttlebutt, but we've got it from multiple sources in the right places, and that appears to be, what is about to happen. We still haven't had a special prosecutor named, and there was indications it was going to be Matt Gaetz, and then it's shifted even during the course of last weekend, and there's two names there. I think one of them's the likely one for different reasons because they have a history that fits better. But that teaser is still out there that you're going to get a special prosecutor named, and that's going to change the direction of things again. So there's stuff looming, but those things probably to watch for. We're moving into not an arrest phase because the criminal referrals then look towards taking stuff to a grand jury, grand jury handing down an indictment, and then coordinating those indictments. If you remember back on the Clinton stuff in the 90s, grand juries, the Ken Starr investigations and grand juries went on for long months. And I can tell you from behind the scenes, we were aware, because I was in Arkansas at the time, we were aware numerous times where the grand jury was presented evidence and handed down an indictment of Hillary Clinton, multiple indictments of Hillary Clinton. And we thought they would be served. And we were very aware of it. And in these, secret grand juries. And then they weren't served on Hillary. And Ken Starr said, well, I have prosecutorial discretion, and I don't think I could get a conviction on that information, so I'm not going to serve an indictment, an arrest warrant for Hillary, ask for one, and have her arrested because of that or other people involved. And you had some people, the McDougalls and others, that did end up being prosecuted, but never Hillary, even though he had stunning stuff there. And that's the risk, even with a special prosecutor. Would they do something similar here? Here's the difference. I'm just getting this out of the way early. Good. Because some people don't, they'll be fussing, you're not saying whatever. Okay, I'm getting it out of the way, and then we have to risk the conversation. The deal is the crimes that are being sent over by with the criminal referrals to the Justice Department from Tulsi Gabbard relate to the types of crimes: treason, sedition, collusion with foreign intelligence agencies and governments. She didn't say that, but that's part of this. They really are not appropriate to be heard in front of a operation in the Justice Department. So those referrals can be hijacked, grabbed, moved at any time into the military justice system. Now, most times in American history, that has not occurred. It's a very, very, very rare occurrence. But it has happened. And in this case, because it's nation state level tax on America, including on the vote. And that's why Tulsi, with what's going to come out this next week, she refers to, in the stuff that came out Thursday, Friday, the Russia hoax as treasonous and seditious, she said today in one of the talk shows she did interview on today. So that's even further than she went on Thursday, Friday. Within that continuing release that she is most likely going to do, China is going to be mentioned. Other countries, and China may not be mentioned in this week. It'll be Venezuela, Cuba, Iran, very intricately involved in the Venezuela, Cuba stuff, Serbia, and there's other countries involved, but I don't know that they'll come out right this second, including intelligence agencies from other countries that were aware and colluding in the way that the fix was in on the vote for 2020. So she'll expand related to the vote stuff. And because it's still early in the week, exactly what they choose to do, there's several places they could do stuff. But let me just add this, and I'm just getting this out of the way early in the conversation that people can go away if they don't want to listen
No,
to
this
the
is
rest of the
fantastic.
show.
Because I thought there was no way they
Well-
were going to get it at their tribunal. I thought the best we might get is like maybe some conservative state where we get a good jury, but this is fantastic.
No. In fact, a tribunal is the only way that you can get to proper justice when you're talking this level of treason and sedition. And let me just add one thing before I forget it. Here's part of the reason why a tribunal is the only place to go. I'll hit it from two directions. Number one, when Kash Patel first sent material over to Grassley a couple weeks ago concerning the fraudulent driver's licenses that whistleblowers in the FBI and intelligence agencies separately, real Americans lost their jobs over this as intelligence officers in three-letter agencies. When Comey testified before Congress that there was no sign of foreign interference in the coming 2020 election. He did that in July of 2020 when Congress was asking if he saw any signs of foreign interference in the coming election. He says, no, we're not seeing anything at all. Whistleblowers stepped forward. They were livid. And they said, we are monitoring our spies' assets are putting their lives on the line in China and conveying information to us. Our intelligence officers working here in the country are tracking not thousands, but over 1 million at least, closer to 1.5 million driver's licenses and IDs that are being created in China, tied to specific addresses in the U.S. in critical locations where states were in the balance for the 2020 election to make sure they had enough people and for certain races here in the States. And it's a pretty complex thing. You had to have a driver's license that shows an address within a certain voting district so that they could go to a vote center and vote and have a name and an address that fit the voter rolls in that area so they could vote 2 or 3 times, okay? And very sophisticated operation. The one that was actually released was only a small sliver, it was like 20,000 driver's licenses exposed in this fraud, and it was up in Illinois. The people involved, both the assets, an asset is not an officer within, say, CIA. There's someone who is a known trusted person that when they're called an asset, confidential source, they are even assigned a number. And so they become a numbered confidential source within the intelligence system. And that's why I tease a lot of times, CIA officers, file clerks. All the real work is done by contractors and assets. Okay. They just pick the information up from under the bridge or something. Okay. It's not the same thing. There's a few of them that do real serious work, but it's not actually the norm. And, that's why we have terms like NOC, non-official cover, and things like that. So people put their lives on the line to get information into the U.S. system about China doing stuff to engineer the way the vote went in America. And it wasn't being done, over just a few days or weeks or a little operation. This took years of data mining, preparation, putting up a network to sift those licenses into, people to handle them and sift them out to all the players within that specific region, with faces and ID and all sorts of things to make it work. It was a very, very sophisticated operation. People put their lives on the line, their careers on the line. And when Comey went into Congress and lied, knew exactly what was going on and lied, knew that China had a huge intelligence operation going on to affect the vote across the country with stolen IDs, fraudulent IDs, stolen names. And he lied to Congress with a straight face and a smirk about no foreign interference in the election. Other people of conscience that were in the position who knew what was going on said, "Fuck you, you stupid ass," and whistle blew. And what was the FBI's response? And the CIA's response, Brennan and Comey? They sent messages out to all the offices involved, system-wide. If you have records concerning Chinese interference with false IDs, etc., don't hide it. Destroy it. Seriously, destroy it. Destroy any evidence that China was ever interfering in our 2020 election. Now, that's treasonous.
Yeah.
That's collusion, because they were helping an enemy not to get caught interfering in our election. Okay? Election fraud is considered in the same vein as a nuclear attack, a biological attack. It's a weapon of mass destruction, because if you get somebody into power who's not the will of the people, they can do all sorts of things that affect populations across the world. And if you're talking about the most powerful office in the world as the commander in chief and the president, you handle the dispatching of armies, medical, the State Department, and relations, all sorts of things. And it can help or hurt millions, could kill millions. And that's exactly what happened, because as they got Biden into office and pushed the whole COVID thing, remember COVID.
Excellent point. Yep.
This is a hard thing for people to get their minds around. COVID was part of a plan to seal the deal by the Globalista to take over the entire world through this fraud of COVID tied to elections. You can't all come into a room. You've got to vote remotely. You've got to put it in a drop box. We're going to make it easier for you over time. You're going to be able to vote on your cell phone. With all the things you know about digital frauds, do you think that you would ever get an honest vote again if you were voting on your cell phones? Seriously? Oh, we have security, we have this and that, and it's going to be just great. No, it isn't. So now I come back to why do I tie COVID into these conversations about prosecutions? The prosecutions that are necessary must and can only ultimately be done in a military tribunal setting, a Nuremberg type setting, because this wasn't just about mere criminality for money or for power and control. The people involved participated in a genocide, planetary genocide.
Wow.
People in this audience lost mom, dad, a cousin, sister, brother, child.
Everybody, friends, yep, everybody.
And it wasn't just here in America, it was across the world. The people that we have in physical custody right now here in the United States who actually flipped the vote in 2020, who I have told you about, they have said, they've testified, they've been on in their recorded statements, in the interviews that are done by people this audience would know the name of instantly. They have told repeatedly that in their work over the last couple of decades across the world, manipulating votes, they have put leaders into power in 71 countries plus the United States. People that weren't the will of the people in that country. And they've shifted the attitudes, the opinions, who gets to be in power by degrees, over and over and over and over by degrees, into their globalist leaders. And they've changed the rules in war, in banking, in health, to help put together this engineered takeover of planet Earth. The goal wasn't just to take over America, it was to neutralize America while they take over the rest of the world. And they'll come back and deal with America later. And by the way, had they got their way, had not Trump won office, remember within those military operations groups that monitor populations, they projected that 90% of the American people would be dead by 2030.
Wow.
That was their projections. On their way in a Georgia Guidestones type of a system,
Yeah.
toward only having 500 million people left on planet Earth. But who were that 500 million? Their families, their groups. They wanted all the rest of us dead. This COVID thing was far bigger. It wasn't, even the COVID's not the real threat, it's the shot itself. Because they weren't just going to have one. You were going to have a vaccine passport. Remember I talked about that early on, vaccine passport? They wanted us to have a vaccine passport initially between countries, then it'd be between states, then it'd be between counties. And you might have a couple of states that say, we're not going along with this. The governor's not, going to do this. You're not going to get away with it. Okay, well, you're not coming into a neighboring state because our governor says you got to have that. And you better have your card to show you did it. That's why I went out and did the stuff, took doctors, attorneys, sports people, military, and we spoke all over the country to explain that they didn't have to take the shot and there was great danger in taking the shot. Please don't take the shot. And, I think a lot of people thought again and saved their own life. But all of that to say, you cannot separate a stolen vote from the murder and mayhem, which we are still going through, tied to the COVID shot, and that tied to China. China is the one that supervised the. Sorry, I've been talking all day. China's one that supervised the theft of the election 2020 and elections all over the world. including the situation going on right now in North Korea. China's heavily involved. Getting some more stuff out of the way real quick. I have a lot going on in Central Africa, and China has been heavily involved in stuff. So the president of the Congo was supposed to come over to America this coming Friday and meet with President Trump on Saturday. And ambassador from the Congo and a bunch of the people around the president were all supposed to fly in. Yesterday, we were all going to meet here in D.C. in the week prior to this meeting with President Trump. And before they could leave, they got word, and they were supposed to come here back when we had the big military parade over a month ago and meet with Trump the day after the military parade here in D.C. because the Congo situation is far more important than most people comprehend. They just, out of mind, out of sight. They don't have a clue, whatever. Within Trump world, President Trump wants to stop feeding the demons with blood. It's kind of it's a spiritual thing. It's a concept thing. Bad guys all over the world, the tyrants, the true tyrants, the worst of the tyrants, they occupy places where death is common. Life is cheap. And in trying to bring some type of hopefulness, beauty, life, business, prosperity into the world, you got to stop feeding the demons. And that means stop the murder, stop the mayhem, stop the death. When Zelensky came over, Trump had Zelensky and Putin agreeing that they were going to have a ceasefire, and then they'd work out a peace deal and begin the rebuilding of Ukraine and Russia there, where all of this had happened. But you first have to have a ceasefire. When Zelensky got here, before he got here, you had American people within the military system, and you had people in England and France and the NATO system who had coached Zelensky that he can't do the deal with Trump that he was going to do. He cannot enter into a ceasefire. It had to be a peace deal. If Russia didn't agree to a peace deal and the terms that Zelensky wanted to dictate right off the bat, then you can't agree to a ceasefire. Trump's attitude was, let's stop the killing, which at that moment was about 1,000 a week on each side. 8 to 10,000 a month total, which was less than it had been. You have about 3 million people dead in Ukraine at that point in time, total civilians and military. And just go into a ceasefire, and then we'll work out terms of peace. Zelensky gets advised by everybody involved, don't do it. You can't stop the fighting until you get the right deal, or you won't be able to get terms that are favorable to you. So he walks into the White House, he's got Napoleon complex, and he, saunters in there, and then he's going to tell Trump what the terms are going to be for the deal, and that we can't do that. And so we're not going to do that. And Trump is like shocked. It's a ceasefire. Just stop the killing and we'll work the deal, and we'll back you up, make sure it's a good deal. America's here. You've got plenty of resources. We'll help you rebuild. You're going to pay for your own rebuilding. Why? Because in part, you're the ones that egged these people on and did it with Russia. And so you're going to have to pay for your part. Russia's going to have to pay for its part. It was contributory, but you got plenty of resources. We'll help you make sure you have trade and protection, all that, and you'll be better than you ever were. Zelensky says, no, we're not stopping the shooting and the fighting until we get the right deal. and he stomps out of the White House. Where does he go? It's not even 24 hours later, he shows up in England, and he's there meeting with the prime minister and key parliamentary members, and they're saying, we're going to back you up, we're going to give you the money, you got to keep fighting. The people in France say the same thing. Other NATO partners, yeah, we got to keep the fighting going. And the war's on, and it kills a whole bunch of people. Trump was just trying to stop the killing, stop the blood sport, stop feeding the demons, and then let's try to figure out how to work a deal out. While you're fighting and killing each other, how you work a peace deal. All of your energy is going to protect each other, and they've been beating each other's brains in even harder. And then Putin, instead of backing off, he doubles down and quadruples down. And Trump says, hey, people think Trump's working with Putin. Putin's not dropping his guard. He's going in all in because, if Ukraine's not backing off, we're not backing off. And now you've got, massive more deaths and destruction. It's going to take even longer to rebuild. Trump's trying to slow down and stop the killing worldwide. That's the thing in the Yemen, where we went in and just bombed the shit out of the bad guys there in Yemen. And even Iran. Iran wanted to have these nukes so that they could. It's not just Israel. That's another thing. I apologize, Michael. I get going. It's hard to stop.
No, I love to let you run because you reveal so much.
Well, you do have to keep revisiting this history and try to put it in context. And so, for a lot of people in this audience, you've been hearing this mantra over and over. I can't back Trump. He loves Netanyahu. He's just, he's a puppet of Netanyahu, blah, blah, blah. I'm being respectful. A lot of those people are our tribe, Michael. And yet they think we've lost our minds, that we don't see that Trump's being manipulated by Netanyahu. That's not at all true. That is a total fabrication falsehood that's pushed by particular lobbies. Here in D.C., the largest lobby is the Jewish lobby. You know what the second largest lobby is? The Saudi Arabian lobby. Okay. And then you have other lobbies out beyond that. All these lobbies, and they're great with their propaganda and their advertising and their back, conferences to push a certain narrative, etc. When Trump bombed the nuclear facilities in Iran, that wasn't Trump doing the bidding of Netanyahu. In fact, if you go back to when Trump went to the Mideast and did an arms deal with Saudi Arabia and another one with Qatar, what did he do? He got Saudi Arabia and Qatar to agree that they weren't buying Russian arms and Chinese arms with all that money they have. They're buying U.S. And when they do that, those agreements last for decades. If they're buying aircraft, they don't buy them and toss them away if the policy changes a few days later. They have to be serviced. They have to have spare parts. They've got to have technical training. Their pilots need assistance to learn how to fly these monsters. And they come here to the U.S. and they spend huge money. And once you have pilots trained, crews to service the aircraft, facilities built around certain types of American parts and engineering and spares and everything else, you don't flip that in an instant. And so if the U.S. has a policy concerning a region, you better be on board. You do something too far off the rails and all the spare parts don't come to you. You're out. So they were making a commitment that they were going to see their bread buttered by doing what the U.S. wants done in the Mideast for decades out into the future, and tying their ship of state to the fate of America and not to Russia, China, Iran, or anybody else, and sending their money over here. They saw America as the strong partner, not one of these others, including the BRICS countries. That was a really important thing. And it wasn't done for the benefit of Israel. It actually took away a lot of the cause from an Israeli Netanyahu perspective for ramping up their arms holding and stuff higher because of these threats from the region. The threat's reduced. We have control of that. They're not going to attack it because it'd be a one-time thing. They wouldn't have any backup in supplies and parts. And by the way, in the weeks, for about 2 weeks prior to Trump going over to Saudi Arabia and Qatar, Netanyahu called and tried to get through to Trump multiple times a day. And Trump wouldn't take his calls. Netanyahu didn't want Trump to do these deals with Saudi Arabia and Qatar, take away some of the excuse for what he's doing. And Trump didn't even take the calls. He was going over, he was doing the deal. He did it, and looking at the bigger picture. Then when he had given Israel and Iran a 60-day window, figure it out, and work a deal, and we'll help you both out. They didn't get it figured out by 60 days. On the 60th day, Netanyahu had a vote in the it's not called Parliament. I forget what it's called. I can't believe I can't think of it this second. And Knesset. And that vote was a confidence vote for Netanyahu. And he won the confidence vote. So he stayed the leader of their government for the time being. Now, the reason that was very, very important was because when the Knesset voted a vote of confidence for Netanyahu, by law, they couldn't do another challenge to his leadership for 6 months. So he gets 6 months unopposed, no ifs, ands, or buts. Within an hour of that vote, then he had aircraft headed for Iran. And the 60 days were up that Trump had given Iran very, very vocally, very visibly, time to work out some kind of a deal with Israel. Iran wouldn't do it. Trump pushed hard. He says it's going to be bad if you don't work it out. He lets them go. They won't work out a deal. So once they bombed those first sites with the help, of Iranian operatives, the majority of the people of Iran, the fastest growing Christian population on planet Earth, by the way, the majority of the population of Iran is in opposition to their own government. And so they were assisting Israeli and American intelligence operations to take out all of the SAM sites that would have opposed those aircraft. And so as the aircraft were flying to Iran, as they were in the air, the missile defense systems on the ground in Iran were being attacked by drones, where locals had let the intelligence officers know the exact locations. And then there was a handful of scientists and military that were never going to back down. And drones took those people out very precisely and specifically. So in the first night, the first attack, there was about 70, I think it was 78 people that died. And there was, I think, maybe 5 people that died that were not the exact person that was targeted. It was that precise. So the amount of indiscriminate, non-combatant type people that died in that first night was almost nothing. It was that surgical, that precise. All the aircraft returned safe. As it continued on, Iran wouldn't back off. Israel kept bombing away. And they had a chance to back off on the nuclear sites. In fact, we let Iran know in advance that they better get out of those sites. We were coming. And do you know that not one person died in the attacks on those 3 nuclear sites that we did? Nobody.
Wow.
And then there was people that came out because of the propaganda. The sites weren't completely destroyed. They can still have the bombs going in a couple of days, a week or two, a month at the most. All this other bullshit. Well, if they had access to the actual things that they needed to put these places back together again, the underground structure could be cleaned out, repurposed, etc. But everything in there, pulverized, man, no way. And we've cut off the access for those materials to come back into Iran. So no, they're not going to be back up and running in a few days or a week or two. With that in mind, Trump